cyber attacks, and their entire computer systems got shut down for over a week. But that coverage increased. And then we also have the medical professional liability for the school health units, along with the patient compensation fund. Those premiums stayed relatively flat, just going up by about $500 or $600, total between the two. On a good note, the flood insurance policies that we have on most of our buildings, those premiums were basically cut in half from last year to this year. And part of that is due to the federal government's introduction of risk rating 2.0. The federal government went in and instead of rating buildings based on a flood zone, just rating it on a flood zone, they're now rating it on geospatial imaging, topographic, how the building sits in a flood zone and all that. So you could be in an X flood zone and pay a lot of, instead of getting that preferred premium that you used to get, or that you used to get for $400, $500 on your personal residence. If you're in an X zone today, if your house isn't situated properly, you could be paying a couple of $1,000s now. But what's happened in the case for the school board is that all of your buildings, and we're mostly insuring all the buildings in Cecilia and Brobridge, those buildings are actually elevated properly to where when we got all the renewal invoices, the premiums were half of what it was last year. So, that's I say a gift from the government, but they'll come back and get it some other way. We did, and if you looked at your the information that we gave, we did offer an option for general liability. I'm saving that one for last. For the Scholastic Entity Package, which covers your general liability, the auto, the school board, and employment practices liability. Right now, your policies with Munich are American Alternative. We did take a pretty decent little increase on that, about a $50,000 increase, mainly because we had some adverse development on a general liability claim that happened a couple of years ago. That claim developed to well over $100,000, and so the insurance company has taken that into account and increasing the premium there. We did go out to Liberty Mutual offers another program, and they came in a little bit less. But I think one of the trade-offs with Liberty Mutual is you have to use their claims, their attorneys, their claims people, and you would lose the ability to manage those claims on your own. You'd have to basically follow Liberty Mutual's.
And I spoke to for a different conversation. I was speaking with Mark Boyer today, and he brought the topic up about the insurance, and he highly recommended that we probably stick with, is it Josh?
Well, Josh is the TPA that handles it, but Munich is the actual insurance company.
Yeah, because, and he made a good point, you go with Liberty Mutual, they're corporate. They'll just try to settle the, underneath the.
In some cases, they would do that, but I think that experience with Liberty Mutual is that they don't just roll over. But there will be some situations where Mark wouldn't be involved like he is today in any of those claims.
Right.
And it would basically be up to Liberty Mutual.
Still want to control.
Yeah. It would basically be up to the insurance company to decide. So.
Motion to accept.
Motion by Mr. Abear. Second by Mr. Forte. Any more discussion? Let's vote. Motion passed. Item 2J.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, John.
Thank you. Consider and or recommend action with regard to annual SMETA contribution. Mr. President.
Every year we make a donation to SMETA, and I'm just recommending that we continue with that and make the same donation we've done every year.
Motion by Mr. Abear, second by Mr. Dojero. Any discussion? Let's vote.
Who's the new director of SMETA?
Motion passed.
Is it still?
Sheila
It's good stuff. She's here.
There you go. There she is, Rich.
Interesting.
Item 2K, consider and now recommend action with regard to funding alternatives, alternates 1 and 2 for $1,030,500 for the food service building and general funds. Do you have a motion? Motion?
On this, I'd like to discuss this a little bit. On this is a, what? Okay.
Do you have a motion, no?
I make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Vitale, second by Mr. Fusilier. Okay, Mr. Poteet, go ahead.
Okay, this is, this would be adding on to the already, to the project,
Right.
the annex, right?
Like you have 2.3 million out from ESSER that pays for the main part of the building, and you have 2 alternates, which would be a dry food storage section, and then a section for IT to receive deliveries, as well as a place for them to repair computers, store parts, that kind of stuff. So we're requesting that the board approve the funding for alternates 1 and 2. If you're gonna go out to bid, you have to have the budget allocated for it.
All right.
Oh,
Go ahead.
Go.
You finished?
Go ahead.
I just want to give my opinion, and I went back and forth with it. But number one, we're losing kids in our parish. So I don't feel that, and it's a trend. It's not just in our parish, it's just in the area. I feel that we gave a budget of 2.3, whatever it was. We need to stick with that budget, because now we're gonna go outside and listen, I understand you build it now, you probably building it for cheaper, but we also have that option that they've designed it to increase it later on when there is a definite need. I just feel that right now, $1 million out of the general fund is a lot of money to be spending on that when we have a lot of other work that we have to consider. That's my opinion, that we go with the base plan, because we keep it simple, do it right. We also have that other building where they're operating right now, that we have an option of more area for storage or whatever they decide to use it in. So point blank, he just said, we have buildings, so we're gonna pay more insurance on this building too. The bigger that building, the more the insurance. And that's just one building.
What, that building's the one that you plan on tearing down?
We're gonna
I don't
continue
think so.
to use it for storage, furniture and that kind of stuff.
Because we definitely need room, especially for grocery and what have you, dry goods. I noticed, I look at TV just every morning. The menu, that cafeteria is not the menu, same menu they put on television. So apparently, they either running out of food or they have trouble getting food, because, you know, I ask my grandkids sometimes, what y'all eat? Oh, well, I seen this, but never have they came home and the menu match.
I just
So
feel
I
the
have
way
something wrong.
they designed it, because you have the pallets that you can, the stack, and you know, you can elevate your products. I think you have plenty enough room with that original base. Now, I understand that the staff is looking years down the road, but I think we need to work like today. And that's my opinion.
Do you, go ahead, Mr. Stanley.
I think that the money could be well spent, but by putting it into the health, group health plan instead, putting it in a building.
Yeah, we should have made that motion. I wanted to make that motion when they said group health increased, you know, like we had.
I'll make a substitute motion to accept the original, the base bid, and go from there. And the additions, I mean, they've all designed it for future references. And when they're gonna need that, we're gonna all be off the board by that time. But I think we need to worry about it right now. And like y'all saying,
I like
there's a lot of problems that are coming.
I'll second that, because I think we're gonna need that money to go into some of these maintenance projects.
Well, I'm like Steady, I like to second his motion to put some of that money to the group health and to make it.
That's a different thing.
Well, yeah, but we can send that back up.
All right,
We can come back and
so we'll
revisit
have
that next month.
a substitute motion by Mr. Abear to go with the base plan. And I have a motion, a second by Mr.
You
Poteet.
have an individual and all that.
Can I just make a comment to Pete?
Go ahead, sir.
We're addressing just one, we're combining two of the alternates into one. You're talking about a storage alternate. The other alternate was the alternate of the IT. And although the population of the schools may be diminishing in some areas, the need for additional IT space is not diminishing and actually increasing. So although there are two alternates, I think they should be maybe taking a look at in that manner.
I'm not gonna put any board members on the spot, but I'll tell you after the meeting, with some of them were saying how you get some space in this building right here.
And that's been addressed
Yeah,
already.
we've discussed it, but, and they brought that to my attention, and it's gonna be Mr. Wilson's problem to address it. But motion is on the floor.
Okay, let's vote on the substitute motion.
Did us. We never supposed to vote no. Oh, yes, no, I vote yes.
Okay. Motion passes. Item 2L, update the MSAP grant program. Mr. Wilson.
Yeah, what I want to kind of tell you about is where we're at, the point where we're at right now, we have about 11 letters that we're going to send out to, for example, St. Martinville Parish Government, UL Lafayette Cox Communications, and those letters are going to be letters of support, not asking for any money, just asking for support, because we're at the point where we're going to finalize the submission of our grant. As I mentioned to Mr. Al and as well as to Ms. Casey, with our hope is that if we receive this grant, what we're going to be able to provide is all of the things that we mentioned before, the arts, the music, the dance, as well as upgrading some of the areas in St. Martinville. What we'll also be able to provide is after-school programs, parent programs, and one of the things that I found significant is that the budget for all of these positions that are going to be required is not going to be paid for by the board. Those are going to be paid for by the grant. Also, equipping our buses in the St. Martinville area with Wi-Fi so that the students can work on projects and work on homework as they're being transported to and from school. That's something we talked about some years ago. And I guess it just never happened, but that's something that's going to be budgeted. What I'd like to see happen is try our best, if it's not as costly, to try to get all of our buses equipped with Wi-Fi and possibly some form or fashion store the buses or park the buses in a particular area where students who don't have access to Wi-Fi could use the Wi-Fi on the weekend if there's work that needs to be done. I have to commend you for approving the grant writers because they've done a tremendous job. Just our initial proposal is like 100 pages long. And just in speaking to some of the staff, that's something that we just couldn't do on our own. So you have to have the experts who actually do the writing to be able to perform those things. They have the experience and the knowledge base, and they have a team of people that are going to work to do those. If the grant is approved, I'm probably going to come back to you with some recommendations for the various positions that are going to be required of the positions that they're recommending. But again, those are going to be positions that are grant funded for the 5 years that we're anticipating we'll have the grant for. If we should go through the 5 years and not spend all of the money, then we can go back to the federal government, and whatever the remaining amount is, we could then request that remaining amount be released to us, and then we can use it for whatever the district chooses to do, as long as it's something that, again, that supports instruction and moving the district forward.
Thank you.
Mr. Clayton, I have let's go back to the topic, and then because we don't have to make a motion. I just need to ask the insurance people a question. Stacy and David, and this is for, could y'all get a number on what the actual cost of board's going to be, a gross amount? Do you have that with you?
Yeah, for the board, it's actually, 300, let's see here, so the 500,000 comes out to, for the board, it's 339,000, and for the employees, it's 200,000. That's how
Now,
the
that's
bottom-
gonna kick into effect in July.
Yeah, but for the fiscal, it'll take that, oh, that's over a year.
And the reason why I'm asking, if the board wants to bring that back up at next finance committee meeting, that we put up the 300,000, that's an option, just to let you know. So, other than, you know,
I just want to say this, last year, when we, group health fund transferred some money back to the general fund from, because the auditor said we had too large of a fund balance, and it looked like we were charging the grants too much. We earmarked that money in the general fund surplus, you know how we
right.
commit things so that if we came into a situation like this, we have that money available to send back to the group health, should they get into, should it continue to go in that direction. So we do have that earmarked.
And of course, we're gonna consult with them too, you know what I mean? Okay, that's all I want.
Wish to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Mr. Cochi, second by Mr. Bear. Meeting adjourned.
closer as a group and nurture the bonds of community. Fill us with your grace as we make decisions that affect everyone in our system. In your holy name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any announcements, acclamations?
We have a couple of acclamations. First of all, Tesh Elementary School has been working toward becoming a state certified French immersion school. And last week, Ms. Dupree called me, let me know that they completed everything and were awarded that certification. One of the things that comes along with that is they get a couple of points added to their student performance score automatically. So that's a good thing. We also have several schools that got some awards for their iReady participation. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Dalford. The banners are not in yet, but she'll announce the schools.
I don't have them with me today, but I do want to recognize the two schools. If you remember at the beginning of the school year, Mr. Bruce Boyd came in at the September meeting. We were talking about some of the challenges we've had since the pandemic with students losing ground in literacy and math. So we used our intervention program, which is with Curriculum and Associates, and the name of it is iReady. And we have been challenging our schools to use the program to try and close those gaps. So this month, our primary school had a pass rate. So all of the all lessons attempted, they passed 86% of their lessons. There was 0 domain shutoffs, and that's good because that meant they were working well and they didn't have to cut it off to do another lesson. And 98.6% of their students were using instruction within the program. So that is Burbridge Primary again, okay? And for our middle school, had a pass rate of 77% with only 4 domain shutoffs and 92.8% of the students using instruction. So that is, again, for the 5th month, Parks Middle School. Just stand up and we'll get you pictures at a later date. But thank you so much for taking this challenge seriously because we really, really want to pick those kids up. Also, I will be excited and looking forward to comparing and seeing what kind of difference this makes in our youth scores. Okay, so keep up the great work. Thank you.
Mr. President, one of them is we had a desk audit from the state of our St. Martin Parish Pre-K 8G grant program. And every time we start an audit or every time we start one of these desk audits or something like that, you're always a little nervous that you're either going to find something, maybe somebody did something wrong. We've been lucky that everything's come back clear, as long as I can sort back as I can remember. And I got a letter here, same kind of thing, the desk audit. The audit report indicates both fiscal and programmatic compliance as reviewed within the scope of the audit. So our pre-K program, the grant funds that we get through AG received a clean bill of health on their desk audit. So congratulations to Ms. Pam and her department and Ms. Nicole, who oversees that program directly. The last announcement that I have is every year LSBA, Louisiana School Boards Association, hosts an art program. So this year when I got the notification, I sent it out to the schools. Actually, Mr. Mike Hebert, who's over the talented art program. I gave it to him. He sent it out to the schools. We had some art that was submitted. And we have a student in St. Martin Parish that placed at the state level in LSBA's competition. So we have a student in 6th to 8th grade division, Amani Singleton. Amani. The parents can come up too. So Amani placed 2nd at the state level in the LSBA art contest. So congratulations. Mr. Foti is the one I think that picked up the Okay,
Southern Scripts.
Southern Scripts Employee of the Month this month is Ms. Natalie Foster. And I think Dr. Phillips, is it you that recommended her? or-
Mr.
Mr. Dugas, okay. Before, I usually let the person that nominated them give a little talk about the person and why they nominated, but I'm going to tell you, this is a former student of mine. I taught Natalie back when she was in high school at Brobridge High. She was an excellent student. Her dad was a coach at Parks Middle and also city councilman in Parks. So she was an excellent student then. She's worked in the parish for a long time. She did not originally start in education, but came in and got certified and is now the principal at Parks Middle. So she's done a fine job there since she's taken over. She was the assistant at Parks and before that at Tesh Elementary. And has a very good handle on curriculum, so expecting some big things from my former students.
I just want to acknowledge the hard work she's doing at the school. She kind of took over in December, I think, and it's not easy, I guess, becoming the leader of a school midway through a school year like that, but the school never skipped a beat. I see the 10, 12-hour work days she puts in weekly. She just stays positive, stays upbeat. You can never tell she's overwhelmed. If she is, she doesn't let it on. We have kids the same age, so I don't know where she finds the energy and everything to do that, but she does an outstanding job. So I just wanted that acknowledged.
We also have our Students of the Year here tonight. I don't think that's a separate item. So I will call up Ms. Riddell Lewis. Ms. Riddell is the person at the district that oversees Student of the Year. And once upon a time, I had that responsibility. I did Student of the Year. So it's a fairly big undertaking, getting everybody there, getting your judges, and getting all that out there and taken care of and working with the school. So there's a lot of work. So Ms. Riddell, I'll turn it over to you to do your introductions.
Good evening. We're here tonight to recognize our Students of the Year. And this year, the state decided to do it a little differently. So we have the schools do their competition, nominate their students. We do one here at the district. In between state and regional, we also had a curveball this year. We had to do zone. Then we had to do regional and pass it on to the state. And I was asked to do regional and zone on top of district. So it is a huge undertaking. So tonight, with no further ado, we have St. Martinville Primary, Bo Euler. Tesh Elementary, Nicholas Taylor. Nyla Vinay, who has a Stevensville Elementary, Addison Brink. Winner for 5th grade with Brobridge Elementary's Jeremiah Smith. Mr. Jeremiah was asking me questions about dual enrollment.
He's got a business.
Is Miss Zoe Macy's here? She's Stevensville. Okay, Zoe's not here. Okay, St. Martinville Junior, Taya Richard. Okay. Cecilia Junior High, Emily Clay. District winner, Roberts Junior High, Patricia Onasing. Winner, Cecilia High School, Miss Carly Falk. High School, Emily Boudreaux. And our school, district, and zone winner would say Martinville Senior High, Billy Poirier.
And that completes the presentation, Mr. President.
Mr. Russ, I'd just like to congratulate all the winners on behalf of the board. And you, young ladies and gentlemen, you have a lot to be proud of because you are our future, because you're goal oriented. You can already tell that, and you need to be proud, and also proud of your parents need to be proud of you, which I'm sure they are. Keep up the good work.
All right, any additions or deletions to the agenda? Nope. Any items to be removed from the consent agenda to be discussed? At this time, I entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda. Motion by Mr. Clay, second by Mr. Stelling. Vote. Motion passes. Item 4, Finance Committee recommendations.
Motion to accept.
Motion to accept by Mr. Abear, second by Mr. Fugely.
I'd like to make a substitute motion on one of the items, and that would be on the group health item that stated in the previous meeting, we had finance meeting, that he would like to see some of that money go towards the group health instead of having that increase. So at this time, I'd like to attend substitute motion that we change it.
I just want to ask, can we do that at this?
Yes, sir. That's the.
I know you want the prevalence side, but if we finish the finance, we're going to bring it back up again?
Yeah, you can bring it back up.
I mean,
Okay, which item is it?
That'd be out of, H.
Item 8?
I just want to do it right,
That's out of H.
and I agree with you.
I'm not opposed to doing that, Mr. Coche, but what I'd like to be able to do, I think Ms. Casey and I, could we bring it back up at the May meeting and actually have where we're gonna take it from, how it's gonna go in, an exact amount? You know, we'll
Yeah,
put it back,
It doesn't kick into July,
Yes,
so
right, we'll put it back in May.
Okay.
All right, so item H we'll put on next month's agenda.
Well,
Well, no, we'll approve it, but they're gonna come back.
right, and we'll maybe come back with a
With a
recommendation if we
recommendation,
can,
okay.
but we need to have something in place going forward.
All right, so, I have a motion to accept Finance Committee recommendations, and a second.
Second.
All right, let's vote. Motion passes. New business. Let's see, consider and approve Head Start Policy Council recommendations, PC minutes, new hire recommendations, employee cell phone use policy, and parent two-way communication policy. Ms. Angel? She here?
Again, she's not here.
I'd like to-
Basically, we have the cell phone policy that we wanted to make sure that it aligns to what we have with our pre-K to 12 teachers and staff, our technology, policy. Also for the two-way parent communication is just setting the parameters of how we're gonna communicate with parents and when we're gonna communicate with parents. So in your board packet, you should have a copy of both of those policies. And of course, our new hire recommendation, who is Ms. Dana Ned, she has about 10+ years with Head Start experience. She was actually one of the early Head Start teachers at the early Head Start in St. Martinville, and she was the best qualified applicant for the job. And of course, Mr. Al did approve the committee's recommendation. And that's just.
Motion by Mr. Clay, second by Mr. Butchie, vote. Motion passes. All right, next item B, millage rates for 23. Adopt the millage rates, Ms. Broussard.
There are no changes.
No changes?
We're adopting the same villages that we adopted last.
Motion by Mr. Butchie. Second by Mr. Where? Mr. Stelling, let's vote. Motion passes. Item C, consider and approve advertising for sale of the old house at the corner of Abear Lane and Bushville Highway in Cecilia. Mr. Blanchard.
Okay, we have that old house, I think it's Abear Lane is the name of it, near Cecilia Junior High. It's an old wood frame house up on pillars. We've cleared most of the lot that's in that area so that maintenance can keep the grass down. And we had people breaking into the house, maintenance went and boarded everything up, but we're at a point now where I think best thing to do is put it up on the market for sale. I reviewed it with Mr. Boyer, and we have to advertise it and either do an auction or advertise it and take public bids, take sealed bids. So what I'm proposing is that we advertise it in the test news for a month, collect sealed proposals, and then go with the highest.
So we can't just put it up with a bid?
I don't think so, it has to be done.
Okay.
When I'll double check with him, but that's what he told me.
Okay, we'll take second.
Here we have a motion to accept. Second by Mr. Butchie. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes. Item 6, board member requests. First one is mine. Steve, would you take over at this time?
Sure.
That's a maintenance update on needs. At this time, Mr. Duncan came to me with some maintenance projects that are in need of being done. And he has put together a proposal and the monies to be spent, where they're gonna be spent. So I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Duncan at this time.
Right, at this present time, we have 3 schools in the parish that have a chiller system, those being Brobridge High School, St. Martinville High School, and St. Martinville Junior High. Of the 3, the junior high has the most current chiller systems, little under 20 years old. Although they are getting of age, they're still in pretty good shape. Of the other 2 schools, Brobridge High School, each one has 2 chillers. In the event one goes down, although it's not feasible to run for an extended period of time, it can run on 1 chiller. The chillers at Brobridge High School, one was changed out with the 2013 bond. The other chiller is well over 25 years old. Last year, it went down for a couple of months. We were able to fix it. The other chiller was able to overtake and to take care of the school during that time. Got it back up and running, but that chiller is on borrowed time. St. Martin's Senior High Both of those chillers are over 25 years old. I'm having higher than normal just upkeep and maintenance on these aged chillers. At this point in time, I bring it to you because due to circumstances in the nation, environment, lead time, these chillers are not something that you can go and purchase at one of the retail stores in the area. There is a 55-week lead time to, if we purchase a chiller right now, it would be a year and a month before we can receive that chiller. So Brobridge, just to give you an example, last year, one went down, the other was able to take over because it was a fairly new chiller. In the event this would happen at, say, Martinville right now, I do not believe that the chiller that is still running will be able to maintain the entire school for an extended period of time. Therefore, if both chillers go out, your school will be without air. That's the severity of the problem that you're looking at, due to the fact that you have a 55-week lead time, over 1 year of lead time to purchase a new chiller. Looking at some of the numbers that are available, I think it would be prudent to take a good hard look at using some of the parish bond money. We have some monies in the ESSER account, HVAC ESSER. I think due to the use of the money that the ESSER board can be approached, and I think that this chiller can be purchased with that money. There again, the monies are there right now. Whether you decide to use these monies to purchase these chillers or not is your decision. I think being that that the monies are there now, and the severity of lead time and the conditions of these chillers, I think we need to take a good hard look at changing these things out right now.
Mr. Both, it's me. I think these are all needs. I think we can, and I spoke with Al, and he had a good, Mr. Blanchard, and he had a good suggestion. We need to talk about exactly where we're gonna do the exact fundings from. You know, this is a good base right here, but one thing I pointed out to Pete when he and I spoke, I decided to call Adam Lochley, who was the architect for the Cecilia High School gym. We should have that bid in before the next board meeting. So if it comes in on the budget, that's some more money that we can utilize right there, just to kind of let everybody know. So I think I think these are all necessities, but that's just my opinion. It's just how we're gonna fund it. And I think, like I said, this is a good base, but I think we all need to make sure that we look at it real good for the next month and go from there.
And I think we need to get this thing moving so that next month we can vote on it and get it on the books as you know, so that he can make an order.
Yeah.
If, what we can do is, Ms. Casey and I, and Mr. Pete can get together, Mr. Darcel, and Mr. Wills, because it's gonna start underneath the finish under him. We can come back to you guys in May with some firm, like where we're gonna take it from. We can finalize the thing with ESSER and come back with a proposal with budget numbers and like get approval at the May meeting. And then they can turn around and order. Mr. Pete has already talked to Southwest Mechanical, gotten some preliminary numbers. So we would be able to, after the May meeting, move forward with placing the order on the chillers, have them in for the summer of '24 while school's out, and we can get them changed.
I think the timing on this would work out to our advantage. Come in next year at this time, a month removed, and it would be able to be, implemented in the summertime with no downtime of school or anything.
And you brought this up to me about the chillers, probably a year ago.
Well, we've been kicking the can down the road. When this thing happened with Brobridge last year, it really puts in, that's the reason for the two chillers. Brobridge has, just to put it in layman's terms, it's a 250 ton, and I may be using the wrong term, two of these. So one goes down, they have a 250 ton unit utilizing the entire school. St. Martinville's chillers are not of that magnitude, not that size. I think they're correct me if I'm wrong, 140s or 180s, to where if one goes down, you're really straining a 25-plus year chiller to substantiate the need in that entire school. And I just don't want any school to be put in a position where, we're caught behind an 8 ball.
Okay, Mr. Potteet, I throw it back. Anybody else have any discussion?
The ESSER fund for the HVAC is 62, what?
It's about 660,000 or 620,000.
Somewhere in the 600, low to mid 600s.
So 620 according to this.
Yeah.
So that's how much we got from ESSER, or we used some
We
of it?
got a little bit more from ESSER, but it involved ventilation, which we did a little bit of. Ventilation includes HVAC. There's a little bit of work that's been done, some repair work on stuff, also water fountain, bottle filling stations and stuff like that. So a little bit of it was spent on that. What remains is $620,000 roughly.
All right, so back over to you, Mr. Potteet.
I recommend that we put it on the agenda for next month.
We'll come back with a proposal.
All right, next item is, discussion of COVID days, Mr. Coche.
Yeah, COVID days, okay. A memo was sent out to all employees that if you have COVID, that the state don't recognize them, that it'd be mandated that they take 5 days out of their days. When you start mandating stuff at a school system without the approval of the board, then you are accountable. Now, if an employee doesn't have those days, then the board is liable because they made the mandate that you take 5 days off. I know of employees that don't have any days. Now, that employee have to come back to the school system, and how that employee get a days back. Now, if that employee goes to the Department of Labor, you got to account and pay for those days as a board because you made that mandate. Well, the board didn't make it, an individual made it. Have the board made it, then it would be a different story. So, I want that clarified for once. Once you start making mandates and setting mandates, it needs to come to the board. Because the state do not recognize that if you got COVID, you come to school, put your mask, period. That's what the state's saying right now. But we saying, I don't know if it's the board, I never seen approved from the board say that a person have to quarantine 5 days, take a test, and stay out an extra day.
That may have been the guidelines at the beginning of the school year.
Yeah.
I'll have to look and check.
Well, you have to look because we might have a few lawsuits, or maybe somebody wanted to get paid for those 5 days that they didn't have.
That's why those employees we were talking about earlier, they probably use the system.
Well, that's the system, but
It's the truth, Rich, I mean, sure.
But
Last year,
if you mandate it, then you are liable for those days.
Last year, the board had approved COVID days
8
above and beyond
Right.
the employee sick days, but there was also an expiration date on that. At the end of last year, we knew
Right.
that. Neither has any other district around us. So this year, we sent out I'm gonna defer to Ms. Adrian in just a minute, and also maybe Ms. Julie, but at the beginning of the year, we sent out an email to all employees that if you got COVID, you would have to use your sick days.
Right. Yeah, you can tell them to use sick days, but when you start mandating a certain amount of days, and I talked about it at the State Department, then the school board is liable for that.
I don't know about mandating days. I know what the Department of Health at different times has given different recommendations.
Right.
Now, right now, I think it's a little different. It's evolved, and if you don't have fever and all that kind of stuff, you can maybe come with a mask. Ms. Adrian maybe will clarify that.
But the memo is from the school board. 5 days, you have to quarantine. Okay?
That was approved by the board last February.
That was approved by the board? Well, I like to, how did you vote? I voted on that. Well, you got a copy of what we voted on?
We could pull it
It
up.
was a scheduled board meeting to revise the COVID guidelines, and the board did approve that employees have to stay home for 5 days.
Oh, yeah, well, then, what the matter is, if the employee have to stay home 5 days, then we have to account for that. You check with the Department of Labor,
None of the surrounding districts are paying for COVID days.
No, they're not paying for COVID days,
And
but when we
also,
start mandating that they have to take these days off, because the state says if you got COVID, come with your mask.
We've only had 62 employees report since the beginning of the year. None have reported since February 28th. Biden is also ending the COVID emergency on May 11th. They are not even required to provide proof that they have COVID.
Yeah.
These are employees
But that's what I'm saying.
self-reporting.
I know some
And most
employees.
of the time, some of these employees came with doctor's excuses saying they were not allowed to return to work for
Well,
that amount of
that's
time.
okay. That's okay. I'm saying is when we start mandating people who doesn't have any days to take off COVID days, you cannot do that as a board. Tell them they have to take 5 days off.
But every employee is allocated days at the beginning of the year.
Right.
And-
But us as a board cannot tell them they have to take 5 days off.
What we can do
And
is.
if I voted for something like that, and the state didn't say it, then that's somebody passed a fire on my eye.
What we're gonna, we'll pull the minutes from that, we'll research what the current regulations are, we'll come back in May with a new recommendation. If we need to revoke that, we'll revoke it, but,
All right. Next item, discussion of employee timekeeping.
Okay, timekeeping. I noticed that's a low morale around the school. I was at school yesterday, grandparents' day, whatever. And, you know, some people, when you start mandating times, and, you know, I think a principal, you know, it's most of the principal who had the headaches when that memo went out that stated you have to be there at a certain time. Some principal does different activity at school. They might have an event which it required the custodian or someone else, maybe cafeteria, where you come in a bit early. Then I feel that it's left over to the principal to be the timekeeper, because that principal is solely responsible for these individual actions. To micromanage it from another area is not good. You know, it's just like board members start micromanaging. I see different employee at Walmart or whatever. You know, that's some stuff. What I'm just saying, you know, but if we have a department that's micromanaging each principal, then I feel that the principal is the sole timekeeper. If the principal tells that employee, well, I need you to come in a little early today, then I need you to stay a little early. That's up to the principal, not another department.
I have given, as long as I've been superintendent, like directors, supervisors, whatever, and even principals, a certain amount of leeway with that.
Exactly.
If you have an employee that's here early every day and they need to leave an hour early to go to the doctor, you know, you can't give them the whole day off,
Exactly.
but you kind of walk a fine line with that.
Our principal kind of pissed. You know, I get the news because I pass around the custodian. You know, the principal they ain't gonna tell me that, but actually every principal at every school was pissed when that memo went out.
Well,
and the morale went down.
That's probably those custodians hiding in those closets.
Well,
let me
look, I work more. I don't work all day. I ride around a little bit.
Let me expound on that a little bit. You're getting into some, you know, I agree that the principal or the director, the supervisor should have a little bit of leeway because they know who their workhorses are. Okay, but you gotta be very careful with that because if you start treating one person different than you treat another, you also open a different can of worms. Last year or 2 years ago, we got ourselves into trouble with somebody that complained with our paraprofessionals because some people are defined as 7-hour employees by their job description, some as 8. And what was happening is they weren't punching out for lunch and they weren't punching out, you don't have to give a break, you no longer give breaks. You get a lunch break and that's it. And remember, we had to pay money to people because of it was a directive issued before I became superintendent about how they were to take breaks and stuff. And it came back to bite us because one person complained. So we've sent out some emails going back to that time where you have to sign in the morning at a designated time. And the cafeteria workers sign in at 6 or 6:30. Then your custodians, one might sign in at 7, another one might sign in at 8. So you got some coming in early, you got some leaving a little bit later in the afternoon, you always have somebody on campus. And then they have to sign on at lunch, okay, and a half hour. And what I hear from the principals, because I hear it too, and you gotta listen to all sides. You know, your employee might tell you one thing, the principal might tell you something else. You know, there's three sides to the story. One person's the other person's, and then there's what the actual truth is. So the way it's set up now is like for professionals, because with a professional, you can make them work longer if you need their own salary and not bound by that overtime rule. But for paraprofessionals, they gotta sign in at a designated time. And if your time's 8 o'clock, you gotta be there for 8 o'clock. And you leave however many hours later so that you don't go into overtime at the end of the week. But they have to punch out when they start their lunch break, and they gotta punch out again. What I'm hearing from some principals is you got people that work, let's say, 8 to 3:30. And every day they're 10 minutes late, 8 minutes late, whatever. And for lunch, you're punching out, and instead of 30 minutes, they're coming back 35 minutes, 38 minutes. It's not a lot at one time, but it's, you know, they're not consistent with, you know, it's not supposed to be from 12 to 12:30, and some of them, and then, you know, it's 2 minutes today, 3 minutes next week, 8 minutes the weekend. Before you know it, they're taking 45 minutes. Okay, so, and now we swipe a card. So you don't write it down or nothing, you swipe it, and that's what it puts you in and out of. So I do allow the principals to make some little exceptions, you know, like I said, if somebody's a workhorse and they're there every day, I mean, I'll tell you, and then with Wendy a couple of times, she's here early every morning, she works all the time. She works through her lunch break. She needs to leave for half an hour to go pick up her son. I tell her, Wendy, go, you know, because that's the kind of person she is. And I feel like a supervisor should have the authority to do that. Not give them the day off, but a bit early because you know they do a lot extra. But at the same time, when you have some people that are scanning in a few minutes late every day, a bit longer for lunch every day, you know, in the private sector,
Right, I can
you get fired.
That's still a
I can understand that, yes, but I'm not talking about that specific. I'm talking about giving the principal that authorization, like they had the leeway for previous.
They do have a little bit of leeway. I don't want anybody abusing it. The other thing is, you gotta be real careful with that overtime stuff, because you can.
Well, not overtime.
Well, if they stay later.
If that person has a doctor appointment and that person wants to maybe skip his or her lunch period, you know, that memo is saying you can't do it. You gotta take your lunch period.
Ms. Lynch, can I speak on that also? Because I think the number
Yes,
of
ma'am.
topics.
What's your name?
Julie Lavia, the HR
Okay.
supervisor.
All right.
We have a problem. Since, and I'm glad you brought this up, since October 1st to March 1st, when y'all helped us make those changes with the leave without pay policy, every employee is given a minimum of 10 days a year. We had 857 incidences of leave without pay. And I'm not talking about people on medical leave or things like that. Since y'all passed that policy on March 1st, because people have run out of days, they already used them all in October, they have had 412 incidences of absences of leave without pay. These employees don't care. The principals still do have leeway, and they all know they do have leeway, but the problem is, you can't give that leeway to a teacher, because you have to have someone there in the classroom teaching the students. Also, if I am the cafeteria worker, and I'm supposed to be there to cook in the morning, I can't say I'm gonna stay later. The meal's already been prepared. We need to be careful for what we offer, like Mr. Blanchard said, because we can't offer it to every position. The principals do have leeway, but in a lot of incidences, especially one of the employees we looked at, it was after the principal met with the employee every single day that month either left early or came late, took extended lunch break after having the principal having a conversation with that employee. And that's not fair. The employee even contacted me in one instance and said, well, if I'm finished 10 minutes early, can I go home? Well, what if I'm finished at 1 o'clock? Or the teacher tomorrow, she gives all her tests early and they have picnics or whatever they have. Can we let her go at that time? You're paying them for 7 hours, so we are, after the principals warn them, and it's an everyday thing, they are being done.
I think that's a point well taken.
What's that?
What she said, people just show up for work.
But that's not.
We're talking about the buses, they're the
that's
same
not-
thing.
I'm pointing at, if an employee, say like, for instance, if an employee have a doctor appointment, they get 30 minutes lunch break.
Well, as long as that superior knows what's going on.
Okay.
What I'll do, Mr. Potier, at our next principal staff meeting, I'll review that with the principals and remind them of the leeway they have with that. I always caution them.
Yeah.
It's to be done sparingly.
Exactly.
Somebody, you can do that with somebody once or twice a year.
Right.
Not,
Not
because they, some
It's
people.
just like the breaks, you know, if you gotta take a break, just go and break.
Yeah.
Period. That's the way we look at it now. Don't point the clock.
All right, this, entertain a motion to go into executive session. Motion and second. All right. said if she out of executive session.
Motion.
Second. We're gonna need.
We got enough.
All right, first, we need to approve the contracts.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Abear, second by Mr. Clay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any objection to the contracts? No? Motion passed. Second is to, continue, moving forward as for, executive session discussion with the, zoning. Moved by Mr. Abear, second by Mr. Clay, all in favor? Any opposition? Motion passes.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second, all in favor? Adjourn.